Sammy the squirrel lived in the tallest oak tree in the meadow, and he had a special place. A tiny hollow in the trunk, where he stored all his favorite nuts. Every morning, he would check it like a little treasure box. But today, when Sammy peeked inside, it was empty. He gasped. "My stash. It's gone." He looked around suspiciously. Who could have taken it? His tail twitched nervously. Was it the blue jay who always stared at his tree? Or maybe that raccoon who passed by last night? Determined to solve the mystery, Sammy grabbed his explorer hat and scurried down the tree. "No one messes with Sammy's nuts," he mumbled, and began his investigation. Sammy scurried down the tree trunk and landed softly on the grass. He sniffed the air, twitching his nose. Something was off. His stash hadn't been touched by wind or rain. Someone had been there. He wandered in circles around the base of the oak tree, looking for signs. Suddenly, he spotted it, tiny paw prints in the soft dirt. They weren't his. They led into the tall grass and vanished. But then Sammy noticed something else, a trail of scattered sunflower seeds, leading toward the woods. His favorite snack, one by one, dropped as if by accident, or maybe on purpose. "Someone wants me to follow," he whispered, eyes narrowing. He tucked his tail and followed the trail, each step crunching over dry leaves and twigs. The forest ahead was darker, deeper, and full of secrets. As Sammy crept deeper into the forest, the light grew dimmer and the air cooler. The trees here stood taller and closer together, their thick trunks like ancient guardians of a secret world. Every now and then, a rustling sound would make Sammy freeze, his little paws tight against his chest. Suddenly, a gentle rustle echoed from the nearby bushes. Sammy crouched low, peering through the leaves. A moment passed. Then another. He took a careful step forward. The bush trembled again. Out jumped a chipmunk. The chipmunk squeaked and leapt backward, just as startled as Sammy. But when they realized neither of them was in danger, they both giggled. "I'm sorry," the chipmunk said. "You surprised me." "I'm Sammy. I'm looking for my sunflower seeds. Have you seen any?" The chipmunk nodded eagerly. "I saw some scattered near the creek. Come on, I'll show you." And just like that, Sammy had made a new friend, and together, they set off through the whispering forest. As Sammy and the chipmunk, whose name was Nibble, walked deeper into the woods, the trees grew taller, and the air smelled of moss and pine. They stumbled upon a fallen log covered in vines. Beneath it, Sammy spotted something poking out, a crumpled piece of parchment. It was old, with faded drawings and dotted lines. "It's a map," Sammy exclaimed, brushing off the dirt. Nibble tilted his head. "Where does it lead?" There was a tiny X drawn deep inside a part of the forest Sammy had never been. The path twisted and looped like a puzzle. "It might be a trail to something important," Sammy said. "Maybe the Forest of Whispers." Excitement lit their faces. They studied the map together, tracing the route with their paws. "We'll need to find the bendy tree, the frog rock, and cross over the whispering stream," Nibble read from the scribbles. Their adventure had just become much more mysterious. With the map in Sammy's tiny backpack, they stepped off the known trail and into the unknown. Sammy and his new friend, the chipmunk named Nibs, followed the winding path from the old map deeper into the forest. The trees grew taller here, their trunks covered in silver moss and their branches forming a high ceiling that echoed with the sound of the wind. They soon reached a narrow valley where the air whistled through the trees like a flute. Nibs called it the Whistling Hollow, a place where few animals dared to go because of its strange sounds. But Sammy wasn't afraid. To him, it sounded like the forest was singing. As they walked, the whistling turned into faint melodies, almost like lullabies. Birds flew overhead in spirals, and glowing bugs lit their way beneath ferns. Sammy's ears perked up. "Do you hear that?" he asked. "It's the wind," Nibs said. "Or maybe it's something calling us forward." At the far end of the hollow, they found an archway of stones, covered in ivy and glowing gently in the dim forest light. The map's trail led right through it. Without a word, the two friends stepped inside. The moment they passed through, the whistling stopped. Everything became still. They had entered the next part of the map, and whatever awaited them would be even more mysterious. As Sammy and Nibs stepped through the ivy-covered archway, the forest air grew cooler and lighter. The path before them led to a circular clearing surrounded by tall, silver trees that shimmered like moonlight, even though it was still daytime. In the center of the clearing stood a strange figure, an ancient owl with feathers that looked like woven mist and eyes that glowed a gentle green. He stood tall on a twisted branch podium, unmoving but aware. "Welcome, travelers," the owl said in a voice that sounded like the wind rustling through leaves. "I am the keeper of the winds." Sammy and Nibs bowed politely. "We didn't mean to disturb you," Sammy said. "We were just following the sound of the wind." The owl gave a slow, thoughtful blink. "The wind only calls those with brave hearts and gentle spirits. You have come far, and now I shall show you the heart of Whistling Hollow." With a sweep of his wing, the trees opened, revealing a glowing spiral of air rising from the earth like a soft, swirling staircase. The owl floated upward and motioned for them to follow. Sammy looked at Nibs, unsure. But Nibs just grinned and said, "Well, if we've come this far." And so they climbed, one step at a time, into the heart of the sky. Sammy and Nibs rose higher and higher, carried by the swirling path of wind gifted by the keeper. The forest disappeared beneath them, replaced by a vast sea of soft, white clouds. Up here, the world was quiet, peaceful. As they floated above the clouds, they could see far across the land, mountains like sleeping giants, rivers like silver threads, and forests like green carpets. Sammy gasped. "We're so small down there." Nibs nodded, his eyes wide. "But we're part of something big." Then, suddenly, something sparkled in the sky. A floating island, yes, an island, drifted gently through the air, held up by nothing but the breeze. It was covered in bright flowers and warm light, and at its center stood a large dandelion-shaped tower, spinning slowly. The wind led them straight to it. As they landed, soft music filled the air. A welcoming hum, like a lullaby. The island wasn't just floating, it was alive. And it had been waiting for them. As the golden sun dipped lower in the sky, Sammy and Nibs sat quietly on the floating island. The wind around them had grown gentle and warm, wrapping them like a cozy blanket. "I think I'm ready to go home," Sammy said softly. Nibs nodded. "Me too. We've seen enough wonders for today." The magical map shimmered once more, showing a glowing path through the sky, one that would take them back to the forest. Sammy took a deep breath and stepped forward, trusting the wind once again. The ribbon of air swirled beneath them, lifting them gently off the island. As they glided through the clouds, they looked back one last time. The floating tower waved its leaves, almost like saying goodbye. The journey home was quiet, filled with soft laughter and the memory of magical places. They passed sleepy mountains and yawning valleys, all glowing in the soft evening light. When they finally touched down in their forest, the trees welcomed them with rustling leaves. The stars began to peek out above. Same forest, Sammy smiled, but now it feels even more special. They curled up near the old tree where it all began, the map gently folding itself and glowing faintly before disappearing into the breeze. Sammy closed his eyes. He didn't need another adventure, at least not tonight. Tomorrow, perhaps. But for now, it was time to dream.